They call him the Trump of the tropics. Jair Bolsonaro served as president of Brazil from 2019 to 2023, and over the weekend he was taken into custody by Brazil's federal police. The arrest follows a ruling that he was a flight risk. He's accused of tampering with an electronic ankle monitor. We spoke with Nicolas Ferreira recently, who's a member of Bolsonaro's party in the Brazilian Congress. He was sounding the alarm that Brazil is headed to tyranny.
Brazil is passing through a hard time in criminal ways. We have 50 million people under the law of the factions. Because it's difficult to explain to someone who has a democracy in their country.
We thought you had one.
No, we don't have. Alexandre de Moraes has a lot of power to put in the deputies and the senators, so they don't have courage to confront the Alexandre de Moraes. And people want to vote in Bolsonaro. He's the most charismatic, he's the most popular guy in Brazil. There are two ways of taking the opposition, is killing him, and they tried to do this in 2018, or putting him in jail. That's what they are going to do right now. I think in 2 weeks, maybe he's in prison.
We have to say that Brazilian congressman called it. He was right. They indeed, following that interview, went to jail Bolsonaro. The former president is appealing a 27-year, 3-month sentence for prison after being convicted on charges of attempting a coup. We find those charges patently absurd because during this attempted coup, Jair Bolsonaro was at Disney World in Orlando, Florida, which is one heck of an alibi. Nobody could plan a coup while waiting for the Dumbo ride. A Brazilian Supreme Court panel found him guilty on several charges, including attempting a violent abolition of the democratic rule of law and involvement in an armed criminal organization. From our vantage point, the criminal organization is the Brazilian Supreme Court. They've tried to censure Elon Musk, Rumble, even the Trump media group. Bolsonaro is no longer eligible to run for public office until at least 2030 due to these past rulings, though we doubt that's on his mind currently. His life may be in danger. Eduardo Bolsonaro joins me now. He's a federal deputy in Brazil's Chamber of Deputies and the son of former President Jair Bolsonaro. Eduardo, when was the last time you communicated with your father, and what do you understand about the current state he's in?
The Justice Alexandre de Moraes from the Supreme Court does not me allow to talk with my father. So despite I'm his son, that is at least couple of months that I do not talk with my father. Unfortunately, now he's in the federal police station, just waiting to go to a common prison and start his service of 27 years in jail because this Disney World coup d'etat, this fake accusation that he got.
It does seem like a very strong alibi that he was in Disney World when they were alleging he was organizing some sort of violent coup. Right now, do you think his life is in danger?
Sure, yes. Alexandre de Moraes was trying to threaten my father to force him to support the other candidate for the presidential election, as my father kept brave and firm in his instances. So Moraes is sending him to a regular jail. And it also happened in the past with a patriot called Clezão, which was in really bad health conditions, and Moraes ignored all of that and let the guy die in jail, despite his lawyers and even the Attorney General was asking Moraes to send him to a residential arrest, home arrest. So looks like Alexandre de Moraes wants to repeat the same thing now with Jair Bolsonaro, because he also believes that sending Bolsonaro to a regular jail, he has leverage to go to a business table and talk with Trump administration to take out from him the sanctions that he got through the Magnitsky Global Act.
Is that what this is about? Do you believe that they're holding your father as a political prisoner so that these elites in Brazilian government can improve their own standing with the United States?
Yes, because it's very clear the connections, even through the legacy media. If you read that in Brazil, you see that as much close the opportunity to send Bolsonaro to a regular jail, more and more they talk about the next year election. And they do not hide anymore that they want candidates or even vice president candidates, but not with the name of Bolsonaro on it. So they want to run fully with names mainly from the center or sometimes center-right candidates, but not with Bolsonaro, because the establishment, they do not want Bolsonaro again, because we put the Brazilians at first and not some sort of, other interests in the name of in the first for the country.
What would be your direct appeal to President Trump now, given where things are currently standing with your father?
Play strong. I think it would be a good thing to apply sanctions against the people that is supporting Moraes, because Moraes is not alone on that. He's backed by other people like the Attorney General Paulo Gonet and some other justices of the Supreme Court. And Moraes, he's always doubling down. It will always happen. And he never, ever accomplished with his words. So you cannot, Moraes is not someone that you can go to the table and have a conversation. He's basically a psychopath. So going around him, other people, they will get scared and likely they will abandon Moraes. So this is what the right thing to do.
This is a very important point to crystallize, because if what you're saying is correct, in Brazil, what they're trying to do is hold your father as a political prisoner, then go to the Trump administration and say, tell you what, give us everything we want economically and we will release Bolsonaro. And that will perpetuate Brazil into its tyranny, because they don't want to let you or your father run in national elections because they think you would win. And what you're saying instead is the right path is secondary sanctions. You go widen that net around Moraes, around Lula, and ensure that they're not able to continue to do this without consequence. I did want to ask you this, Eduardo. There were reports that your father was hallucinating at the time of his arrest and capture. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, everything that I know is coming from the press and social media, because I cannot talk with my father. But the thing is, my father, he was under house arrests, not using his social media. I mean, he was censored by Alexandre de Moraes, 24/7 cops around his house, sometimes even inside of his backyard, cameras. So how can you imagine someone run away from a place like that? This is just unbelievable. So Moraes, what he's doing is he's doing a torture against Jair Bolsonaro. He really wants to kill Bolsonaro. And this is the main point. And the thing is, Matt, for your American audience, this is going to happen again with Trump. Probably now people is feeling like, oh, that's okay, it's over, Trump is not more on the courts. But I'll tell you, they will come more and more aggressive. In the end of the Trump administration, you see, they'll try to do the same thing with Trump, Bessent, Rubio, anyone that they can to do that, because this is exactly what they are doing in Brazil, and they follow the same playbook.
Now, it does seem like what you're enduring in Brazil is downstream from what we endured in the United States, but the difference was the voters were able to amnesty President Trump. If President Trump had not won this last national election, he might be in jail right now, because that was the plan. The plan for Trump is what they're actually executing right now on Bolsonaro. That's why I think these secondary sanctions are so important, and pulling visas. Let me add that to the list. The U.S. ambassador to Brazil right now should be pulling visas of anyone who is involved in this effort against Jair Bolsonaro. You should not be able to go lock up the former president of Brazil because you don't like his politics and then come get your medical care in the United States, come have your vacations in the United States, send your children to school in the United States. So that is another form of action that I think our government could take. Eduardo, are you able to run for president? And if your father is still in jail, will you mount a campaign?
Despite the polls show me tied with the current president, Lula da Silva, looks like I cannot run. If I go back to Brazil, sure, they're going to jail me because they are accusing me of crimes that I did while I'm living here in exile in U.S. soil, which basically they are considering the Trump administration a criminal organized criminal group. This is just unbelievable, unbelievable. But we have my brother's Senator Flávio Bolsonaro, and now looks like Alexandre de Moraes is preparing the narrative to also sue my senator brother Flávio Bolsonaro. Why? Because in Brazil you have the Clean Background Act, which means that if you are convicted by a court, you cannot run in the following elections. And they do not want anyone with the name Bolsonaro running for that, because they know that we would be other thing, putting the interests of the Brazilians at first, just like Trump done with the American people here in the United States. So they are trying to avoid it, copying the same thing that happened in Venezuela with Maria Corina Machado, that did not run in the last election, or also a worst case as Nicaragua, where they arrested 7 presidential candidates and cleaning them from the way, the current dictator, Daniel Ortega, got reelected.
Yeah, no, it is so clear that the globalist plan for the Americas is to try to extinguish populism through the application of criminal law when their politics fails. And we are right on the front lines of that in Brazil. There are levers the United States can and must pull for the freedom of Jair Bolsonaro and indeed the freedom of the tens of millions of people in Brazil. Eduardo Bolsonaro, member of the Brazilian Chamber of Deputies, thank you so much for joining us. Our best to your family and your father.
Thank you, Matt, and everybody for all one. God bless you.